Hey everyone, I'm Ethan, and I wanted to share my story with you all. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, but I feel like writing about it might help me process everything. Plus, maybe someone out there can learn from my experience. I'm in my early 30s running my own tech startup. Business has been booming lately, and I've been putting in crazy hours to make sure it stays that way. My wife, Emily, is a creative soul. She's an artist, always full of ideas and constantly working on new projects. We've been married for 4 years, and up until recently, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Our sex life has always been interesting, to say the least. Emily has a very high libido and an adventurous spirit. She's always wanting to try new things, push boundaries, and explore every possible avenue of pleasure. Me? I'm more conservative. I was raised in a pretty traditional household, and while I'm not a prude, I definitely have my limits. But being the loving husband I am, I've tried to meet Emily's demands. Over the years, we've ventured into all sorts of sexual experiments. We've bought toys, costumes, and all kinds of gadgets from sex shops. BDSM sessions became a regular part of our routine. I've tied her up, spanked her, and played the dominant role more times than I can count. At first, it was kind of exciting. I enjoyed seeing her so happy and satisfied. And I'll admit, some of the stuff we did was a real turn-on. But deep down, I always felt a little out of my depth. I'm a control freak in my professional life, and relinquishing that control in the bedroom wasn't always easy for me. Still, I did it for her. I loved her, and I wanted to keep her happy. I guess I thought that was enough. I thought our adventurous sex life would keep her satisfied. I was wrong. Things started to change a few months ago. At first, it was subtle. Emily became more distant, spending long hours in her studio, sometimes late into the night. She'd always been dedicated to her art, but this was different. She was more secretive, often locking the door behind her when she never used to. When I asked her about it, she brushed me off, saying she was working on a surprise project. Our sex life started to feel off too. She pushed for more extreme scenarios, things I wasn't entirely comfortable with. She wanted multiple partners, something I flat out refused. I told her I was willing to do almost anything for her, but that was a hard limit for me. She seemed disappointed but didn't press the issue further, at least not directly. There were other signs too. She started going out more often, saying she needed to meet with clients or attend art shows. Sometimes she'd come home late, smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. When I questioned her, she always had a perfectly plausible explanation, and I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. I wanted to trust her. We had built a life together, and I didn't want to believe that she could be unfaithful. But the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the sense that Emily was hiding something from me. I tried to focus on my work, throwing myself into my business to distract myself from my suspicions, but it wasn't enough. The more I tried to ignore it, the more the doubts gnawed at me. It was like an itch I couldn't scratch, always there, just beneath the surface. And then one night, everything changed. I came home late from the office, exhausted and looking forward to a quiet evening. Emily was in her studio as usual, and I decided to get some work done in my home office. I needed a flash drive to transfer some files, and I grabbed one from the desk drawer, not realizing it wasn't mine. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop, expecting to find some old work documents. Instead, I found a folder labeled Private. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. What I saw made my heart drop into my stomach. There were several video files, each one with a date. The most recent one was from just a few days ago. I clicked on it, my hands trembling as I waited for the video to load. When it started playing, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Emily, in our bedroom, with 2 men I had never seen before. They were all naked, and it was clear from the start what was happening. Emily was laughing, enjoying herself in a way I had never seen before. The men were touching her, kissing her, and she was reveling in the attention. I felt like I was going to be sick. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen, even though every second was torture. The video continued, showing them engaging in a variety of sexual acts. Emily was fully into it, directing the men and participating with an enthusiasm she had never shown with me. It was clear this wasn't a one-time thing. She knew what she was doing, and she was enjoying every moment of it. I felt a mix of emotions: rage, betrayal, heartbreak. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. How could she do this to me? After everything we had been through, all the sacrifices I had made to keep her happy, this was how she repaid me? I watched in stunned silence as the video ended, and then I clicked on another one, hoping against hope that it would be different. But it wasn't. Each video was the same: Emily with different men, doing things I could never have imagined. It was like a punch to the gut, over and over again. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed the laptop shut and sat there, my mind racing. I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. My whole world had just come crashing down, and I had no idea what to do next. I sat in my office for what felt like hours, trying to process everything I had seen. Eventually, I knew I couldn't avoid the confrontation any longer. I had to talk to Emily, to hear her side of the story, even though I wasn't sure I could handle whatever excuses or lies she might come up with. Taking a deep breath, I walked to her studio and knocked on the door. There was no answer, so I pushed it open. She was sitting at her easel, completely absorbed in her painting, not even noticing I was there. For a moment, I just stood there, watching her, trying to remember the woman I fell in love with, before everything went wrong. "Emily," I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. She turned, startled, and for a split second, I saw a flash of guilt in her eyes before she masked it with a smile. "Hey, babe," she said, standing up and walking over to me. "What's up? You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't hold back anymore. "I found your flash drive," I said, my voice breaking. "I saw the videos." Her smile faltered, and she took a step back. "Ethan, I can explain." "Explain what?" I shouted, the rage I had been holding back finally spilling over. "Explain how you could cheat on me with multiple men, how you could film it and keep it hidden from me, how you could lie to my face every single day." She looked panicked, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. "Ethan, please, it's not what you think. It was just a fantasy, something I needed to explore. It didn't mean anything. I love you." I laughed bitterly. "Didn't mean anything? Are you kidding me, Emily? You've been sleeping with other men and filming it. How can you say it didn't mean anything?" Tears started to well up in her eyes, but I was too angry to care. "I didn't know how to tell you," she said, her voice shaking. "You've always been so conservative, and I was afraid you'd judge me. I needed more, Ethan. I needed something you couldn't give me." Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. I had tried so hard to meet her needs, to push my own boundaries for her sake, and now she was saying it wasn't enough, that I wasn't enough. "I can't believe you," I said, my voice hollow. "I thought we had something special. I thought you loved me." "I do love you," she insisted, reaching out to touch my arm. I pulled away, not wanting her to touch me. "Please, Ethan, we can work through this. We can go to therapy or try new things. I'll do anything to make it right." But it was too late. The damage was done. I couldn't unsee what I had seen, and I couldn't forgive her for betraying me in the worst possible way. "I need some time to think," I said, turning to leave. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." As I walked out of the studio, I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, had shattered my world, and I had no idea how to put the pieces back together. I left the house and drove around aimlessly, my mind racing with thoughts and emotions I couldn't control. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd ever experienced. It was like a storm raging inside me, with waves of anger, sadness, and disbelief crashing against each other. I found myself parked in a quiet lot near the lake, one of Emily's and my favorite spots. It used to be a place where we'd come to relax, have picnics, and talk about our dreams for the future. Now, it felt like a cruel reminder of everything we had lost. I sat there for hours, replaying the videos in my head, hearing her laughter, seeing her in the arms of those other men. The images were burned into my mind, and I couldn't escape them. The pain was unbearable, and I felt like I was drowning in it. I thought about all the times I had pushed my own boundaries for her, trying to make her happy. The countless nights of BDSM sessions, the toys, the costumes, all of it seemed meaningless now. I had sacrificed so much, only to find out it wasn't enough. She had needed more, and she had gone behind my back to get it. A part of me wanted to believe her, to give her a chance to explain and make things right. But another part of me knew that our relationship would never be the same. The trust was shattered, and I didn't know if it could ever be repaired. I called my best friend Mark, hoping for some clarity. Mark and I had been friends since college, and he was the one person I could always count on for honest advice. "Ethan, what's going on?" he asked, his voice filled with concern when he answered the phone. "Mark, I'm at the lake. I need to talk to you." "It's about Emily," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, he replied without hesitation. True to his word, Mark showed up quickly. He found me sitting on a bench staring out at the water. He sat down next to me, not saying anything at first. He knew me well enough to know that I needed a moment. "What happened?" he finally asked. I took a deep breath and told him everything. I showed him the flash drive and explained how I had found the videos. He listened in stunned silence, his expression growing darker with each passing minute. "Jesus, Ethan," he said when I finished. "I can't believe she did that. I don't even know what to say." "Me neither," I admitted. "I just feel broken. I don't know what to do." Mark sighed and put a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to figure it all out right now. Take some time to process everything. You don't owe her anything after what she did." His words were comforting, but they didn't make the pain go away. I knew he was right, though. I needed time to think, to figure out what I wanted and how to move forward. But one thing was clear. My life had just been turned upside down, and nothing would ever be the same again. After my conversation with Mark, I knew I needed space. The house I shared with Emily was now filled with memories that only brought me pain. I couldn't stay there, surrounded by reminders of her betrayal. I decided to move out, at least for a while. I called Emily and told her my plans. She pleaded with me to stay, to talk things through, but I couldn't bear to be near her. I needed to get away, to clear my head and figure out what I wanted to do next. I packed a few bags, taking only the essentials. As I was leaving, Emily stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, please," she begged. "Don't leave. We can fix this. I love you." I looked at her, feeling a mix of sadness and anger. "Emily, I need time. I can't be here right now. I need to figure things out on my own." She reached out to touch my arm, but I pulled away. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this," I said, my voice shaking. "You broke my trust, and I don't know if we can come back from that." She sobbed as I walked out the door, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. I drove to Mark's place, where he had offered me his guest room for as long as I needed. It felt strange to be living out of a suitcase, but it was better than being in that house. Mark was a great friend during this time. He gave me space when I needed it, but he was always there to talk when I wanted to. We spent many late nights sitting on his porch, drinking beer and talking about life. He reminded me that I was strong, that I could get through this, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. During those weeks, I tried to focus on my work. My startup was taking off, and it was a welcome distraction from the chaos of my personal life. I threw myself into my projects, working long hours to keep my mind off Emily and the pain she had caused. Despite my efforts to stay busy, the nights were the hardest. Lying in bed, alone in the darkness, I couldn't escape the thoughts of her betrayal. I replayed the videos in my head, tortured by the images of her with those other men. I wondered if I had ever truly known her, if everything we had built together had been a lie. I tried to rationalize her actions, to understand why she had done what she did. Maybe she really did need something I couldn't give her, but that didn't make it hurt any less. I had given her everything I could, and it still wasn't enough. One night, as I was lying in bed, I realized that I had to make a decision. I couldn't stay in limbo forever. I needed to decide whether to try and salvage our marriage or to move on. It was the hardest decision I had ever faced, but I knew I couldn't avoid it any longer. I took a deep breath and made up my mind. It was time to confront my future, whatever that might hold. After weeks of soul-searching and countless conversations with Mark, I knew I needed to make a decision. Staying in limbo was only prolonging the pain. I had to confront Emily again and decide the future of our marriage. I called Emily and asked her to meet me at a nearby cafe. It was a neutral place, away from the memories of our home, and I hoped it would help keep the conversation civil. She agreed, her voice tinged with hope and fear. The cafe was quiet when I arrived. I chose a secluded corner table and waited. Emily walked in a few minutes later, looking anxious but determined. She sat down across from me, and for a moment we just stared at each other, the weight of everything unspoken hanging in the air. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Emily, we need to talk. I've had some time to think, and I need to know why. Why did you feel the need to go behind my back and cheat?" She looked down, fiddling with her hands. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I know that doesn't make it right, but I was lost. I felt like there was a part of me missing, a part of our relationship that wasn't fulfilling me. And instead of talking to you about it, I made a terrible mistake." Her words were sincere, but they didn't ease the pain. "I tried so hard to meet your needs, Emily. I did things I wasn't comfortable with because I loved you. And it still wasn't enough." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, and I'm grateful for everything you did. I should have been honest with you. I should have communicated better. I let my desires take over, and I was selfish." I looked at her, trying to see the woman I had married, the woman I had loved, but all I could see was the betrayal. "Emily, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. What you did, it shattered me. It shattered us." She reached across the table, grabbing my hands. "Please, Ethan, give me a chance to make it right. I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, counseling, anything. I love you and I don't want to lose you." I pulled my hands away, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "I need more time," I said finally. "I can't just forgive and forget. I need to figure out if I can move past this, if we can rebuild what we had." She nodded, looking devastated but understanding. "I'll give you all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting, hoping that we can find a way back to each other." I stood up, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. "I need to go. I'll be in touch when I'm ready." As I walked out of the cafe, I felt a sense of finality. I had made my decision, at least for now. I needed more time to process everything, to heal, and to figure out if our marriage was worth saving. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew I had to take it one step at a time. Back at Mark's place, I continued to focus on my work, but I also started to explore parts of myself that I had kept hidden for too long. The betrayal had left a void, and I needed to find ways to fill it. Surprisingly, I found myself drawn to the BDSM lifestyle that Emily had introduced me to. At first, it felt strange and almost wrong to think about it, considering how our relationship had ended. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had actually enjoyed some aspects of it. The control, the trust, the intensity. It was something I had never experienced before, and I found myself wanting to explore it further. One night, after another long day at work, I decided to do some research. I found online communities and forums dedicated to BDSM, and I started reading about the experiences of others. I was surprised by how open and accepting the community was. People shared their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. It was a place where I felt understood, even though I was just a silent observer. Eventually, I worked up the courage to join one of the forums and introduce myself. I was honest about my situation, explaining that I was new to the lifestyle and was looking to learn more. The response was overwhelming. People welcomed me with open arms, offering advice and support. It felt good to be part of something, to have a place where I could explore this new side of myself without judgment. Through the forum, I connected with a woman named Lisa. She was experienced in the BDSM lifestyle and offered to help guide me. We started chatting online, and she was patient and understanding, answering all my questions and helping me navigate this new world. Eventually, Lisa and I decided to meet in person. I was nervous but also excited. We agreed to meet at a local cafe, much like the one where I had confronted Emily. When I arrived, I saw Lisa sitting at a corner table, a warm smile on her face. She was striking, with an air of confidence that was both intimidating and alluring. "Ethan?" she asked, standing up to greet me. "Yeah, that's me," I replied, shaking her hand. We sat down and started talking, and I was surprised by how easy it was to open up to her. Lisa had a way of making me feel comfortable, and she listened intently as I shared my story. She didn't judge me or make me feel ashamed. Instead, she offered support and encouragement. "Everyone's journey is different," she said. "It's about finding what works for you, what makes you feel fulfilled. Don't rush it. Take your time and explore at your own pace." Her words resonated with me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was something I could embrace, something that could help me heal and move forward. Over the next few weeks, Lisa and I spent more time together. She introduced me to some of her friends in the community, and I attended a few events. It was a whole new world, one that was both exciting and daunting. But with Lisa by my side, I felt more confident in exploring it. I even started to experiment on my own, buying a few new toys and trying out different scenarios. It was strange at first, but the more I experimented, the more I discovered about myself. I realized that I enjoyed the control, the power dynamics, and the trust that came with BDSM. It was a way to take back some of the control I had lost in my relationship with Emily. Through this journey, I began to heal. I was still hurt by Emily's betrayal, but I was starting to find a way forward. I was discovering a new side of myself, one that was stronger and more resilient. And for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of hope for the future. As I delved deeper into the BDSM community, I found myself reconnecting with parts of myself that had long been dormant. The newfound sense of control and exploration was empowering, and it helped me reclaim my confidence. Lisa became a close friend and mentor, guiding me through this uncharted territory with patience and understanding. I attended several more events, meeting people who shared similar interests and experiences. It was eye-opening to see how diverse and accepting the community was. Everyone had their own story, their own reasons for being there, and it was reassuring to know that I wasn't alone in my journey. One evening, Lisa invited me to a private play party. It was a more intimate gathering, with a small group of people she trusted. I was nervous, but also excited to see what it was all about. When I arrived, the atmosphere was relaxed and welcoming. People were chatting, laughing, and enjoying themselves. It was nothing like the stereotypical image I had in my head. Lisa introduced me to everyone, and I quickly felt at ease. The night was filled with various scenes, from light bondage to more intense play. It was fascinating to watch, and I learned a lot just by observing. The level of trust and communication between partners was incredible, and it made me realize how important those elements were in any relationship. Towards the end of the night, Lisa asked if I wanted to participate in a scene with her. I hesitated at first, but I trusted her and knew she would guide me through it. We discussed boundaries and limits, and she explained everything clearly. With her reassurance, I decided to give it a try. The experience was intense, but in a good way. It was unlike anything I had ever felt before. There was a sense of release, a catharsis that came with letting go and trusting someone completely. For the first time since discovering Emily's betrayal, I felt truly free. After the scene, Lisa and I talked about what had happened. She was supportive and understanding, helping me process my emotions and experiences. It was a turning point for me, and I realized that this new world was something I wanted to continue exploring. Back at Mark's place, I reflected on how far I had come. The pain of Emily's betrayal was still there, but it was starting to fade. I was rediscovering who I was and what I wanted out of life. The journey wasn't easy, but I was growing stronger every day. One weekend, I decided to visit my family. They had been worried about me, especially after I moved out of the house. I hadn't told them the full story, only that Emily and I were having problems. I felt ready to share more with them, to let them in on what had been happening. My parents welcomed me with open arms, and we spent the afternoon catching up. Eventually, the conversation turned to Emily and our separation. I took a deep breath and told them everything. The betrayal, the videos, and my decision to move out. They were shocked and saddened, but they were also supportive. My mom hugged me tightly, and my dad offered words of wisdom. "Ethan, you've been through a lot, but you're strong, and you'll get through this. Take your time, and don't rush into anything. We're here for you, no matter what." Their support meant the world to me, and it gave me the strength to keep moving forward. I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but I was ready to face it. I was starting to rebuild my life piece by piece, and I was determined to come out stronger on the other side. As I drove back to Mark's place, I felt a sense of peace. I was on a new path, one that was uncertain but filled with possibilities. And for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. Life continued to move forward, and so did I. My business was thriving, and the stability it provided gave me a sense of purpose and direction. The exploration of BDSM had become an integral part of my healing process, and Lisa remained a close friend and mentor. My days were filled with work and self-discovery, and for a while things seemed to be settling into a new normal. Then one afternoon, I received a text from Emily. It was the first time she had reached out since our last conversation at the cafe. My heart skipped a beat as I read the message. "Ethan, I know I hurt you deeply, and I understand if you never want to see me again. But I need to talk to you. It's important, please." I stared at my phone, conflicted. Part of me wanted to ignore her and continue moving on with my life, but another part of me was curious. What could be so important that she felt the need to contact me now? After some deliberation, I decided to meet her. We agreed to meet at the same cafe where we had talked before. When I arrived, Emily was already there, looking nervous and uncertain. She looked different, more vulnerable than I remembered. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling, "thank you for coming. I know I don't deserve your time, but I really need to talk to you." I nodded, taking a seat across from her. "What is it, Emily? What's so important?" She took a deep breath, visibly struggling to find the right words. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since we last spoke. I know I messed up, and I know I hurt you in ways that might be unforgivable. But there's something you need to know. I'm pregnant." Her words hit me like a truck. My mind raced, trying to process what she had just said. "Pregnant?" I echoed, feeling a mix of emotions. "Is it?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I had a paternity test done. It's yours, Ethan. I'm sure of it. I found out after you left, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to complicate things even more. But you have a right to know." I was speechless. The last thing I had expected was this. Emily's betrayal had shattered my world, and now she was telling me we were going to have a child together. I felt a surge of conflicting emotions, anger, confusion, fear, and a strange sense of responsibility. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally managed to ask. "Because you deserve to know," she said, wiping her tears. "And because I want you to be a part of our child's life if you want to be. I know I've lost your trust, and I don't expect forgiveness, but our child deserves a chance to know their father." I leaned back in my chair, trying to make sense of everything. The idea of becoming a father was daunting, especially under these circumstances. But I couldn't deny that I felt a sense of duty to the unborn child. "I need time to think about this," I said, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "This is a lot to take in." "I understand," Emily said, her voice soft. "Take all the time you need. I'll respect whatever decision you make." As I left the cafe, my mind was swirling with thoughts and emotions. The revelation had thrown me off balance, and I knew I had some serious thinking to do. My life had already been turned upside down, and now it was about to change even more dramatically. I spent the next few days in deep contemplation. I talked to Mark and Lisa about it, seeking their advice and perspectives. They both supported me, reminding me that I had the strength to face whatever came my way. Ultimately, I knew that my decision would shape the future, not just for me, but for my unborn child. It was a responsibility I couldn't take lightly, and I was determined to make the right choice, no matter how difficult it might be. The days following Emily's revelation were some of the most challenging I had ever faced. I weighed every option, considering the potential impact on my life, Emily's, and most importantly, the life of our unborn child. The responsibility was immense, and the decision couldn't be rushed. One evening, Mark and I sat on his porch, a couple of beers in hand. He had been my rock through all of this, and I needed his perspective. "Mark, what would you do if you were in my shoes?" I asked, staring out at the sunset. He took a sip of his beer, thoughtful. "Ethan, this is a tough situation. There's no right or wrong answer here. You have to do what feels right for you. But remember, this isn't just about you and Emily anymore. There's a child involved. Think about what kind of father you want to be." His words resonated with me. I had always wanted to be a father someday, but I had never envisioned it happening like this. Yet despite the circumstances, the thought of being a father brought a glimmer of hope. I wanted to be there for my child, to give them the love and support they deserved. The next morning I called Emily and asked her to meet me at a park near my office. It was a place where we used to take walks and talk about our dreams. I hoped it would provide a calm setting for the difficult conversation ahead. Emily arrived looking anxious but hopeful. We found a bench under a large oak tree, and I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "Emily, I've thought a lot about what you told me," I began. "This isn't an easy decision, but I've decided that I want to be a part of our child's life. I can't walk away from that responsibility." Her eyes filled with tears and she nodded. "Thank you, Ethan. I know this is difficult, and I'm grateful that you're willing to be there for our child." "But," I continued, "this doesn't mean we're getting back together. I still need time to heal from what happened. We'll have to figure out how to co-parent and provide the best environment for our child." Emily nodded again, looking both relieved and saddened. "I understand and I respect your decision. I want what's best for our child too. We'll figure this out together." Over the next few weeks, we started to work out the logistics of co-parenting. We met with a counselor who specialized in helping separated parents navigate their new roles. It was a challenging process, filled with awkward moments and painful reminders of the past, but it was necessary for the sake of our child. As the pregnancy progressed, I attended doctor's appointments with Emily and began to feel a connection to the baby. The first time I heard the heartbeat, I was overwhelmed with emotion. Despite everything, this tiny life was a part of me, and I was determined to do right by them. Meanwhile, my relationship with Lisa continued to grow. She was supportive and understanding, never pushing me to move faster than I was comfortable with. Our friendship deepened, and she became an invaluable source of strength and stability. One evening, after a particularly emotional day of planning with Emily, I found myself at Lisa's apartment. We talked for hours, and I opened up about my fears and hopes for the future. Lisa listened patiently, offering comfort and reassurance. "Ethan, you're doing an incredible job handling all of this," she said softly. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed. Just remember to take things one day at a time." Her words were exactly what I needed to hear. In that moment, I realized how much I valued her presence in my life. She had become more than just a mentor and friend. She was someone I could truly rely on. As I navigated the complexities of my new reality, I began to find a sense of balance. It wasn't easy, and there were still many challenges ahead, but I was starting to see a path forward. I was learning to embrace the unexpected, to adapt, and to find strength in the support of those around me. And in the midst of it all, I was preparing to become a father, determined to provide a loving and stable environment for my child, no matter what. As the months went by, the reality of becoming a father started to sink in. Emily and I continued to navigate the complexities of our new relationship as co-parents. We attended prenatal classes together, discussed names, and made plans for the baby's arrival. Despite the pain of the past, we managed to find a way to work together for the sake of our child. One afternoon, while we were shopping for baby supplies, Emily turned to me with a hesitant smile. "I've been thinking about names. What do you think of Oliver if it's a boy and Lily if it's a girl?" I paused, considering the names. They both had a certain charm, and I found myself smiling. "I like them. Oliver and Lily, they're perfect." Emily's face lit up, and for a moment it felt like old times, before the betrayal, before everything changed. But I reminded myself that this wasn't about us anymore. It was about the new life we were bringing into the world. The months passed quickly, and soon it was time for the baby shower. Emily's friends and family gathered to celebrate the impending arrival, and I found myself surrounded by people who, despite everything, were excited to welcome our child. It was a bittersweet experience, but I focused on the positive. This was about the baby, and I wanted to be fully present for them. The day finally arrived when Emily went into labor. I rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The hours that followed were a blur of anticipation and anxiety. I held Emily's hand through the contractions, offering words of encouragement and support. And then, after what felt like an eternity, our baby was born. The sound of their first cry filled the room, and tears streamed down my face as I looked at the tiny, perfect life we had created. The doctor placed the baby in Emily's arms, and I felt an overwhelming surge of love and protectiveness. "It's a boy," the doctor announced with a smile. "Congratulations, Mom and Dad." Emily looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, meet Oliver." I reached out, gently touching Oliver's tiny hand. "Welcome to the world, little guy," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. "I promise I'll always be here for you." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and moments of pure joy. Emily and I found a rhythm, working together to care for Oliver. It wasn't always easy, but we were committed to providing a loving and stable environment for him. Despite the challenges, I found myself falling in love with fatherhood. Oliver's presence brought a new sense of purpose to my life. I cherished the quiet moments, holding him in my arms and watching him sleep, feeling a connection that was deeper than anything I had ever experienced. My relationship with Lisa continued to evolve as well. She was a constant source of support, offering advice and encouragement as I navigated the complexities of being a new parent. One evening, after Oliver had finally fallen asleep, I met Lisa for dinner. "You're doing great, Ethan," she said, her eyes filled with admiration. "I can see how much you love Oliver. He's lucky to have you as his dad." "Thank you, Lisa," I replied, grateful for her words. "I couldn't have done this without your support." She reached across the table, taking my hand. "I'm glad I could be here for you, and I'll continue to be, no matter what." Our bond had grown stronger over the months, and I found myself opening up to the possibility of something more. Lisa had been there for me through the darkest times, and her presence had become a source of light in my life. As I embraced my new role as a father, I also allowed myself to explore the possibility of a future with Lisa. It was a slow and steady process, but I was learning to trust again, to open my heart to the idea of love after betrayal. Life was far from perfect, but it was moving forward. And with Oliver in my arms and Lisa by my side, I felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that I had the strength and support to overcome them. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself settling into a new routine. Balancing work, fatherhood, and my burgeoning relationship with Lisa was challenging, but it was also deeply rewarding. Every moment with Oliver was a reminder of the beauty that could come from even the most difficult circumstances. Emily and I continued to co-parent amicably. We established a schedule that allowed both of us to spend quality time with Oliver. It wasn't always easy, but our shared love for our son helped us navigate the rough patches. We attended counseling sessions together to improve our communication and ensure we were providing the best possible environment for Oliver. One evening, as I was putting Oliver to bed, I received a text from Emily. "Can we talk? It's important." My heart skipped a beat. Conversations labeled important had rarely been good news recently. After tucking Oliver in, I called her back. "Ethan, I've been offered a job in another state," she said, her voice tentative. "It's a great opportunity for my career, but I don't want to disrupt Oliver's life. I wanted to discuss it with you before making any decisions." The thought of Emily moving away with Oliver was terrifying, but I also knew how much her career meant to her, and I didn't want to stand in the way of her dreams. We agreed to meet the next day to discuss the details. We met at the park, our usual spot for serious conversations. Emily explained the job offer, the benefits, and how it would impact her life and Oliver's. I listened carefully, weighing the pros and cons. "I don't want to take Oliver away from you," she said earnestly. "I was thinking maybe we could work out a shared custody arrangement. He could spend summers and holidays with me, and the rest of the year with you." The suggestion was a reasonable compromise, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. The thought of spending months without seeing my son was painful. But I knew this was an important opportunity for Emily, and I wanted to support her. "Let's try it," I said finally, my voice steady. "We'll figure it out, one step at a time." We spent the next few weeks ironing out the details of our new arrangement. It was a difficult transition, but we were both committed to making it work for Oliver's sake. The day Emily and Oliver left for their new home was one of the hardest days of my life. But I knew it was the right decision for everyone involved. In the meantime, my relationship with Lisa continued to deepen. She was a constant source of strength and support, helping me through the difficult moments and celebrating the joyous ones. One evening, as we were having dinner at my place, she looked at me with a serious expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking a lot about us," she said, taking my hand. "I care about you deeply, and I love spending time with Oliver. I want to be a part of your life, and I want you to be a part of mine." Her words filled me with warmth. I had been hesitant to rush into anything, still wary from my experience with Emily. But with Lisa, everything felt different. She had been there for me through thick and thin, and our bond had only grown stronger. "I feel the same way, Lisa," I replied, squeezing her hand. "You've been my rock through all of this. I love you, and I'm ready to take the next step with you." We decided to move in together, blending our lives and creating a new chapter filled with love and support. It was a big step, but it felt right. Lisa and I were building a future together, one that included Oliver and the life we wanted to create as a family. As the months passed, we found a new rhythm. Lisa and I navigated the challenges of co-parenting with Emily, maintaining a balance that kept Oliver at the center of our decisions. We created new traditions and memories, building a life filled with love, laughter, and resilience. Despite the twists and turns, I had found a way to move forward. The pain of Emily's betrayal was still there, but it no longer defined me. I had learned to embrace the unexpected, to find strength in vulnerability, and to open my heart to new possibilities. With Oliver, Lisa, and the support of my friends and family, I was ready to face whatever the future held. Life was far from perfect, but it was real, and it was mine. And for the first time in a long while, I felt truly at peace. The new arrangement took some getting used to. The house felt empty without Oliver's presence, and the days seemed longer, but I kept myself busy with work and spending time with Lisa. We made the most of the time we had together, growing closer each day. We spent weekends exploring new hobbies, cooking together, and enjoying quiet evenings at home. Lisa had a way of bringing out the best in me, and our relationship flourished. She was there to support me during the tough days and to celebrate the good ones. One afternoon, while we were enjoying a walk in the park, Lisa turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking. I'd like to meet Emily. I think it's important for us to have a good relationship, for Oliver's sake." The suggestion surprised me, but I understood where she was coming from. Emily and I were doing our best to co-parent, and having Lisa in the picture meant she would play a significant role in Oliver's life. It made sense for them to meet. "I think that's a great idea," I said, nodding. "I'll talk to Emily and set something up." A few days later, we arranged to meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop where Emily and I had often met to discuss co-parenting logistics. Emily was initially hesitant, but she agreed, understanding the importance of the meeting. When we arrived, the atmosphere was tense but cordial. Emily and Lisa exchanged polite greetings, and we sat down to talk. I could sense Emily's apprehension, but Lisa's warmth and sincerity soon put her at ease. "Emily, I want you to know that I care deeply about Ethan and Oliver," Lisa began. I respect the role you play in Oliver's life, and I hope we can work together to create a positive environment for him." Emily nodded, her expression softening. "I appreciate that, Lisa. It's important to me that Oliver has a stable, loving environment. I think it's great that he has you in his life." The conversation flowed more easily after that. We discussed our shared goals for Oliver's upbringing, establishing clear boundaries and expectations. By the end of the meeting, it felt like a significant step forward. The tension had lessened, replaced by a mutual understanding and respect. As we left the coffee shop, Lisa squeezed my hand. "I think that went well," she said, smiling. "It did," I agreed, feeling a sense of relief. "Thank you for suggesting this. It means a lot." As Oliver grew, the shared custody arrangement became a new normal. Summers and holidays with Emily allowed him to experience a different environment, while the rest of the year with me and Lisa provided stability. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Oliver thrived in both homes. He was a happy, curious child who adapted well to the changes. I cherished every moment with him, from bedtime stories to weekend outings. The bond we shared was unbreakable, and I was determined to be the best father I could be. Meanwhile, Lisa and I continued to build our life together. We talked about our future, our dreams, and our plans. She became more than just my partner. She was my confidant, my support, and my best friend. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Lisa turned to me with a serious expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking about the future. I love you and I love Oliver. I want to make this official. I want us to be a family." Her words took my breath away. I had thought about proposing to Lisa, but hearing her express the same desire filled me with joy. "Lisa, I've wanted to ask you the same thing. I love you, and I can't imagine my life without you." I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small box I had been carrying for weeks. "Lisa, will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes, Ethan. Yes." We embraced, the future suddenly feeling brighter than ever. We had come so far, overcoming challenges and building something beautiful together. Now, we were ready to take the next step, to create a family filled with love, resilience, and hope. As we sat together, holding each other close, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life had taken unexpected turns, but it had led me to this moment. And for the first time, I felt truly content, ready to embrace whatever the future held. The months following our engagement were filled with joy and anticipation. Lisa and I began planning our wedding, a small and intimate ceremony with close friends and family. We wanted to celebrate our love and the journey that had brought us together. As we prepared for the wedding, we also continued to focus on building a strong and loving environment for Oliver. Emily was supportive of our plans, understanding the importance of creating a stable family dynamic for our son. We worked together to ensure that Oliver felt loved and secure, no matter where he was. The wedding day arrived, a beautiful autumn afternoon filled with golden sunlight and crisp air. We chose a charming venue in the countryside, surrounded by nature's beauty. As I stood at the altar waiting for Lisa, I felt a sense of peace and happiness that I hadn't felt in a long time. When Lisa appeared, walking down the aisle with a radiant smile, my heart swelled with love and gratitude. She looked stunning, and I knew in that moment that I was the luckiest man in the world. We exchanged vows, promising to support and cherish each other for the rest of our lives. It was a simple ceremony, but it was perfect for us. After the ceremony, we celebrated with our loved ones, enjoying a night of laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Mark, my best man, gave a speech that brought tears to my eyes. He spoke about our friendship, the challenges we had faced, and the strength we had found in each other. "Ethan, you've shown incredible resilience and grace through everything," he said, raising his glass. "And Lisa, you've brought out the best in my friend. I couldn't be happier for both of you. Here's to a lifetime of love and happiness." As the night drew to a close, Lisa and I shared a quiet moment together, reflecting on our journey. "We've come so far," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. "I'm so grateful for everything we've built together." "Me too," I replied, holding her close. "I can't wait to see what the future holds for us." We honeymooned in a cozy cabin by the lake, a place where we could unwind and enjoy each other's company. It was a blissful week filled with long walks, quiet evenings by the fire, and conversations about our dreams and plans. We returned home feeling refreshed and ready to embrace our new life as a married couple. Back at home, we settled into a routine that balanced work, family, and our shared interests. Lisa continued to support me in my business, and I encouraged her to pursue her creative passions. We made time for date nights, weekend getaways, and quality time with Oliver. Emily's move had proven to be beneficial for her career, and our shared custody arrangement allowed Oliver to experience the best of both worlds. He thrived in the love and support he received from all of us, growing into a happy and well-adjusted child. One day, as Lisa and I were playing with Oliver in the backyard, I looked around at the life we had built together. The laughter of my son, the love of my wife, and the support of our extended family and friends filled me with a deep sense of fulfillment. Despite the challenges we had faced, we had created something beautiful and enduring. Lisa and I often talked about expanding our family, and the idea of having more children excited us both. We knew it wouldn't be easy, but we were ready to face whatever came our way, knowing that we had each other's support. As the years went by, we continued to grow and evolve as a family. We faced new challenges, celebrated new milestones, and cherished the everyday moments that made life special. Our love for each other and for Oliver remained the foundation of everything we did. Reflecting on my journey, I realized how far I had come from the dark days of betrayal and heartbreak. I had learned to embrace change, to find strength in vulnerability, and to trust in the power of love and resilience. Life had taken unexpected turns, but each twist and turn had led me to where I was meant to be. And as I looked at my family, I knew that the future was bright. Together, we would continue to build a life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities. Thank you for your attention. Share your thoughts in the comments.
Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions in the comments.